Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going back in time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, to the very beginnings of American industry.
All right.
Imagine a world where clothes were made by hand.
Wow.
Yeah, and life moved to the rhythm of the seasons.
Okay.
No noisy factories or anything like that. Just
All right.
yeah, that was America before the Industrial Revolution.
Interesting.
But change was coming.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it was brought about by a handful of really bold people.
Okay.
These individuals dared to dream of a future powered by machines.
Fascinating.
And it's pretty incredible to think how these early pioneers, often driven by ambition and circumstance, really set in motion this huge transformation that would reshape America,
Yeah.
like physically and economically.
Absolutely.
And to really grasp this shift,
Yeah.
we got to first look across the Atlantic to Britain.
Okay.
They were already in the thick of the Industrial Revolution.
Mm.
And our source for this deep dive,
Yeah.
the History That Doesn't Suck podcast does an amazing job.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of painting this vivid picture of 18th century England.
That's great.
It's like we're stepping right into those bustling textile mills.
I love that.
What strikes me is the sheer speed of innovation back then.
It's true. We often think of the Industrial Revolution as this
Yeah.
singular event,
Yeah.
but it was really a wave of inventions building on each other.
Yeah, absolutely right. It was a series of aha moments, not just one.
Exactly.
Like take the flying shuttle, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
It doubled how fast weavers could work,
Right.
but then they needed more yarn to keep up.
A bottleneck.
Exactly. And that's where the spinning jenny comes in.
Of course.
Invented by James Hargreaves.
Mm-hmm.
This thing let one spinner make multiple threads at once.
Wow.
Yeah, output just exploded.
Amazing.
But they didn't stop there.
No.
Along comes Richard Arkwright with the water frame.
Right.
It used water power to spin yarn automatically. Yeah, even more efficient and setting the stage for much bigger production.
That's a game changer.
These machines weren't just gadgets.
No, they weren't.
They represented a total shift in how work was done.
Absolutely.
It went from skilled artisans in small workshops to factories where less skilled workers could operate these machines,
Yeah.
producing goods at an unbelievable rate.
And that obviously had a huge impact on people's lives.
You're right, especially for women who traditionally did the spinning.
It did the spinning jenny, for example.
Yeah.
Increased production, but also displaced some women
Oh, I see.
who couldn't compete with the machine speed.
Right.
So it's a reminder that technology has these
Yeah,
complex social and economic consequences.
definitely. So while Britain was going full steam ahead with this industrial age, what was happening over here in America?
Well, things were moving a lot slower.
Okay.
Textile production here was mostly cottage industry,
Right.
meaning families made goods at home, often with hand tools.
I can't even imagine the time and effort it took to make cloth back then.
It was a lot.
Yeah, the podcast mentions Martha Ballard, this midwife and weaver.
I remember that.
Yeah, she kept these detailed diaries about her work.
Oh, fascinating.
It really gives us a peek into the daily life of women in that era
It does.
and how much labor went into making textiles.
Yeah, it's a stark contrast to those British factories.
It really is.
And this difference wasn't just about technology.
Well,
It reflected different visions for America's future.
you're talking about Hamilton and Jefferson's debate, right?
Exactly. They had very different ideas about manufacturing.
Yeah.
Hamilton, a staunch Federalist,
Uh-huh.
believed America had to industrialize to be economically independent
Okay.
and compete globally.
Mm-hmm.
He saw manufacturing as a way to create jobs,
Right.
diversify the economy, and strengthen the nation.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Jefferson, on the other hand, he
Right.
was a Democratic Republican.
That's right.
He preferred an agrarian society.
Hmm.
He was worried industrialization would concentrate wealth and power
Right.
and create this dependent working class.
He romanticized that image of the self-sufficient farmer.
It's interesting.
This disagreement really shaped early American economic policy
Wow.
and still echoes in today's political debates.
Yeah, it's that classic tension
Right.
between those who see progress in industry
Yeah.
and those worried about the social and environmental costs.
Exactly.
And this tension played out in a very real way when Hamilton
Yeah.
tried to create his own industrial utopia in New Jersey.
Oh, right. Patterson.
Yeah, he started the Society for Establishing Useful Manufacturers,
Yes.
hoping to attract skilled workers and create a model town.
Ambitious.
It was a bold move, backed by government bonds and private money.
But it didn't quite work out.
You're right, it failed to live up to its potential.
So what went wrong? Were they just ahead of their time?
Maybe, but there were other more practical issues.
Like what?
They had poor management and financial mismanagement.
Oh.
Yeah, by William Dewar, one of the directors.
Mm-hmm.
And they had labor disputes, too.
A combination of problems, then.
Yeah, internal problems and external challenges.
It sounds like it. And I guess they also lacked the technical expertise that Britain had.
That's a good point. They couldn't replicate those complex machines
Right.
and production processes that were driving Britain's success.
It shows how hard it was to industrialize in America without relying on British knowledge.
And that's where Samuel Slater comes in.
Ah.
Often called the father of American manufacturing.
Yeah.
He was the one who finally figured it out.
It's interesting because Slater wasn't a wealthy investor or a politician. He was a skilled mechanic who saw an opportunity and took a huge risk.
His story really is like a spy thriller.
It is.
He basically memorized the designs of British textile machines.
Wow.
While working in a mill. Then he disguised himself and escaped to America.
Bold move.
Yeah, he defied British laws that forbade exporting industrial secrets.
And he was only 21.
Think about that.
It shows his ambition and determination.
Definitely. And maybe a little youthful daring, too.
Probably.
But it wasn't just about leaving Britain.
Yeah.
He wanted to bring those secrets to a place with potential.
He saw the opportunity in America?
Exactly. America was ready for that change. So what happened when Slater got here? Did he find success right away?
Not immediately.
Okay.
He struggled to find investors who shared his vision.
Right.
But he eventually partnered with two merchants from Rhode Island.
Who were they?
William Olney and Smith Brown.
Okay.
They saw the potential in Slater's knowledge.
And that partnership was a turning point for American industry.
Yes, but it wasn't all smooth sailing.
Oh.
Olney and Brown, while providing the money, also wanted to control everything.
Oh, I see.
Which caused friction with Slater.
Makes sense. He was eager to put his vision into action.
Right. But despite that tension, they managed to build successful mills in Rhode Island.
Using the designs Slater brought with him.
That's right.
And these mills were different from the British ones.
They were. Slater didn't just copy what he learned.
He adapted it to America.
Exactly. His system became known as the Rhode Island system.
Okay.
And it was based on family labor.
Interesting. So he hired whole families to work in the mill.
He did, often providing housing and other things.
It's interesting how that aligned with both economic needs and social values.
It is. There was a workforce ready in those families seeking opportunity.
Yeah.
And it appealed to those worried about a large, disruptive working class.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It was a way to promote stability and order.
Right, and to use the labor that was available in rural America.
And while we have to acknowledge it still involved child labor.
We do. That was common then.
But it was different from the British model, which often relied on orphanages and workhouses for cheap labor.
That's a key difference.
Slater's system, while not perfect, was seen as more humane, and it eased some fears about industrialization.
It did, and it had a lasting impact on American industry. Other entrepreneurs adopted this family-based model.
And one of the key figures in this early period was a woman.
Oh, yes.
Hannah Wilkinson Slater, Samuel's wife.
She was more than just a supportive wife.
Right, she was an innovator.
She played a big part in the mill's success.
How so?
She created a method for making a super strong and durable cotton thread.
Wow.
Which was a big asset in those early days.
That's amazing. And she even got a patent for it.
She did one of the first women to do so in America.
It's a reminder that women were active in this revolution.
They were.
Even if their contributions were often overlooked.
This is so true. And while Slater was making waves in Rhode Island, another important figure emerged in Massachusetts.
Who was that?
Francis Cabot Lowell, a wealthy merchant from Boston.
Interesting.
A sharp mind and a talent for espionage.
Espionage.
His story is full of intrigue and risk-taking.
Okay, tell me more.
He went undercover in British textile mills.
Really?
Posing as a tourist while secretly studying their most advanced machine.
The power loom.
The power loom.
Okay.
It automated the weaving process, which was very labor-intensive before Lowell understood its potential and wanted to bring it to America.
But it wasn't just about watching it work.
Right.
He had to memorize the design and how it worked.
He did, because any drawings or notes could be confiscated.
It was a risky move.
The British were very protective of their industrial secrets.
Of course.
Anyone caught stealing them faced harsh penalties.
So Lowell had to rely on his memory and observation.
That's right.
He spent weeks studying the power loom, making mental notes.
Wow.
And sketches whenever he could while pretending to be a tourist.
That's incredible.
It shows his intelligence and his courage.
It does.
And when he came back to America,
yeah,
he had those secrets in his mind ready to spark innovation here.
It's a dramatic story.
It is.
And it sets the stage for a new chapter in American industry.
What's interesting is that Lowell didn't just want to copy British technology.
Yeah.
He wanted to make it better and create something uniquely American. And that ambition led him to start the Boston Manufacturing Company.
Yes.
Which became a model for a new kind of industrial enterprise.
Lowell's vision was grand.
What was it?
He wanted to build a fully integrated textile mill.
Okay.
Handling everything from raw cotton to finished cloth all in one place.
That was revolutionary back then.
It was.
It required technical skill, financial smarts, and pure determination.
And Lowell had all of that.
He teamed up with this brilliant mechanic named Paul Moody, who helped him make his ideas a reality.
They found a great spot on the Charles River.
Oh, yeah.
Using water power to run their machines.
And in 1814, their mills started running.
It did a marvel of engineering.
The first fully integrated textile mill in America.
A huge leap forward for the country's industry.
But Lowell's vision went beyond the technical stuff.
You're right.
He had a unique approach to labor, which would have a big impact on New England.
This is where we see a real contrast to Slater's system.
Okay.
Lowell decided to hire young single women.
From where?
From rural New England, offering them wages.
And what else?
And a chance to live independently in a supervised setting.
This system, it's called the Waltham-Lowell system, right?
Yes.
It was innovative, but also controversial.
It challenged gender roles and gave women new opportunities.
It's a fascinating part of early American industrialization.
It is.
It raises questions about women's roles in economic progress versus social change.
And it's something we'll explore more in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait. But for now, it's amazing to think how these two figures, Samuel Slater and Francis Cabot Lowell, each helped launch America on its path to becoming an industrial giant.
It's a story of ambition, risk-taking, and innovation.
It is.
And it reminds us that American industry isn't just about progress, but also about these complex social and economic forces.
Absolutely. So we're talking about these young women leaving their families and their farms to work in these mills.
Right.
What was life actually like for these mill girls?
Well, it was a huge change from what they were used to.
Okay.
These women, mostly in their late teens, early 20s, they signed contracts to work in the mills for a certain time.
Like how long?
Often a year or two.
Okay.
And they lived in boarding houses owned by the company.
Really?
With strict rules and curfews.
So almost like a college dorm?
Yeah, you could say that.
But with looms instead of textbooks.
Right.
I guess those boarding houses were meant to be a safe place.
They were.
Yeah. For these young women, many away from home for the first time.
Exactly.
They had to follow moral codes, go to church, and their social lives were watched closely.
Yes.
I guess that was to reassure their families.
It was.
Yeah, back then a woman's place was usually seen as at home.
Right.
So the idea of them leaving to work in factories, that was pretty radical.
It was a big shift.
So what about the work itself? What was it like spending hours every day with these machines?
It was definitely tough.
Okay.
Long hours.
Like how long?
12 to 14 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Wow.
They operated the machines, watched the cloth quality, and kept the factory clean.
Not much time for fun then.
No. The work was intense and fast-paced.
Right.
But it wasn't all bad.
Oh.
The mill girls created a community.
Okay.
And found purpose within that demanding environment.
The podcast mentioned they formed literary societies.
Yeah.
Went to lectures, even published their own magazine.
That's right, the Lowell Offering.
They made the most of their free time.
They did. Those activities show an important side of the Lowell system.
Okay.
It wasn't just about jobs. It was about self-improvement and learning.
Interesting.
Lowell believed educated workers would be more productive and happier. So he encouraged those things.
That's very different from the image of the exploited factory worker.
It is. We tend to think of that.
Right. But we have to remember, the Lowell system, while offering some good things, was still a system of exploitation. These women worked long hours for low pay.
And their lives were controlled by the company.
And as demand for textiles grew, the pressure to make more money increased.
It did.
Leading to speed-ups and pay cuts.
Right.
Which caused protests and strikes.
Exactly, that idyllic picture of the Lowell system.
Yeah.
It started to break down under capitalism.
So we have these two models of early American industry.
Right.
The Rhode Island system with family labor and the Waltham-Lowell system with young women.
What were their long-term effects?
Yeah, good question.
Well, both were important for the growth of the American textile industry, which quickly became a major part of the economy.
Interesting.
The demand for textiles fueled innovation and expansion,
leading to bigger and more efficient mills.
Exactly.
And those mills attracted more people from rural areas.
They did.
Which led to more urbanization.
And the growth of industrial centers in the Northeast.
It was a time of rapid change.
It was.
And those early industrialists, both men and women, they played a key role in shaping America's economic development.
Absolutely. It's amazing to think about the ripple effects of their actions.
I know. They basically set the stage for America becoming an industrial power.
But as we've seen, this progress came with a price.
Right. The factories brought new problems.
Like what?
Labor unrest, environmental damage, social upheaval.
It's a complicated legacy.
It is.
That still shapes how we think about technology, the nature of work, and balancing economic growth with social well-being.
It reminds us that history isn't just a simple story of progress.
No, it's not.
It's a mix of innovation, ambition, exploitation, and resilience.
And by understanding these complexities, we can better appreciate the challenges and opportunities we face today.
I agree, as we navigate our own time of technological change.
Yeah,
it really is amazing to think how much changed in just a few decades.
It is.
America went from farms and fields to a place where machines were changing everything.
Absolutely. A remarkable transformation.
I wonder what these early industrialists would think of today's world.
Right. Imagine showing them a modern textile factory.
Yeah, with all the automation, computers, global supply chains.
They'd be blown away by how efficient it is.
Totally. But I wonder if they'd still see the human element in all that technology.
That's an interesting thought. I mean, they were both so hands-on with their mills, interacting with workers every day.
They understood the value of skill and ingenuity.
Yeah, even as they embraced those new technologies.
And they wrestled with the social and ethical side of their choices.
They did, even if their views were shaped by their time.
Right, they were pioneers in uncharted territory.
Trying to balance progress and responsibility.
And that tension is still with us today.
It is.
As we figure out automation, AI, globalization, and their effects on workers.
Absolutely. So what can we learn from these early industrialists?
Yeah, what lessons apply to us now?
Well, I think adaptability is key.
Okay.
Slater and Lowell were willing to learn, try new things, adjust their methods for America.
Right. They weren't afraid to challenge the norms.
No, they were.
And create their own way.
They were visionaries, too. They saw the potential of technology and wanted to use it for a better future.
Even if that future was a bit unclear.
Exactly. And they knew innovation wasn't just about machines.
No.
It was about people, too.
Right.
They invested in their workforce, gave them chances to learn and grow.
Created a good work environment.
Yeah, where people could be productive and feel good.
It's a good reminder that even with rapid technological change, human creativity and collaboration are still essential.
Absolutely. As we navigate this time of change and disruption, it's good to remember the lessons from those who came before.
The ones who dreamed big, took risks, and built American industry. This deep dive into the roots of American industry has been fascinating.
Yeah.
I have a whole new understanding of this era and its pioneers.
It's an ongoing story as we face our own challenges and opportunities.
It is, and I hope this has made you think about the forces shaping our world.
Me too.
And the role we all play in shaping the future.
For anyone who wants to explore more about this time, check out the History That Doesn't Suck podcast.
It's a great resource for learning about American history.
It brings the past to life and gives us insights for today and tomorrow.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive for today.
Thanks for joining us on this journey back in time.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those wheels turning.